Hi, my name is Maciek and I work with Trans Corp. And today I would like to introduce you the chaining up the tires in a truck and a trailer. We'll be going through the whole procedure. I know that's the most hated stuff. The drivers don't like this usually. Most likely they're gonna sit in a truck stop and they're waiting till it's gonna be clear on the road. But sometimes there could be a situation that you will be forced to put the chains on. So I just wanna bring you closer how you can easily put the chains on and securely. We want to show you how easy it's really in reality to put the snow chains on if you're going to be forced to do so. The important thing is that you always have to remember there is a requirement by Department of Transportation that each state require to carry the snow chains. Also there is a frame, the date frame, that you have to have them in a truck. Not necessarily you have to use them, but you also have to remember that they can stop you and do routinely check up and see if you carry them. If you don't, then you're gonna be fine. There are a few steps that you have to consider for checking up that if you have chains, enough amount of the chains, so proper amount of the chains, and if they are not damaged, that you can use them if you need them. First of all, most likely we are heading toward West Coast, which requires the strongest requirement in the States as far as the amount of the chains. The amount of the chains that it's necessary that you have to carry, it's not only 8. You have to remember, you always have to have a 1 spare snow chain in case that one of them becomes the damage or something happen or you're gonna lose them. Mostly they are packed in a bags for a set. So it's 2 chains in each bag. Each bag serves 2 wheels. And there is also some variations that you can have a super singles, that's just a different type of chains, or most likely it's gonna be double wheels that most of our fleet has. So remember, 4 bags plus 1 chain, which is gonna bring you to the 9 pieces that you have to always have in a truck. Another thing is that you have to make sure that they are not damaged, not turned out, and you have one very important part of the chains set. There is a key for locking up the cams. If you don't have them, then you are screwed. So we are ready for chaining up the wheels. I'm gonna walk you through right now the process of chaining up the wheels, and also I'll show you what's supposed to be in each individual bag so you are ready to do this on the road. So I have 1 bag. Each bag contains 2 chains and very necessary tools they call the cam key, which is the most important part of the set beside it, and unfortunately not broken or not tear out the chains. So these tools, it's required to actually tension the chain once you put them on. So we are putting that aside. We're not gonna need this right now. Also, as I mentioned, there are 2 chains which are identical. There is no difference in between the sides. The only difference that you have to really keep in mind is only one side of the chain has a special cam for tightening once it's on. So that part is always going toward outside, so the roadside. It never goes inside because it's actually very hard to maneuver in between the wheels and try to tighten them. So remember that, always goes on outside. So I'm ready and let's start it. So pretty much that's one of the steps, the most important step of putting the properly chains on. So you have to remember that's a very important part of that. You have to try to put them evenly. So we got them evenly on each side. You can always check, make sure, so they're not gonna be slipping out of. I find out myself, there is a very handful tools that most of the drivers carry in truck. It's not intended for the chains. It's intended for pulling up the release handle on the fifth wheel, but also does a very good job if you wanna use this for the chaining up. So especially when we are talking about it, closing up the link, which is one on the outside, one on the inside, you can always use that tool and try to pull the chain from inside, which can help you bring this closer, so you're gonna be able to close that part together. Then unfortunately you have to do small bend out, and you have to try to close that together. Now that could be one of the most difficult part of that. So we do have a two part of the links and a hooks. One goes inside of the tires, one goes on the outside. So I always start with the inside one, so you have a more room. That's more room that you can pull chain and bring it closer. Then we are ending up that sometimes the chains actually getting underneath of the tire, especially when it's snow on the road. So you have to remember, once you put the one side, you close that, you can always try to pull a little bit on the outside and then try to make this happen so you can close that chain. We got not enough room right now, so we have to try to move this and get this closer so we can pull that chain from underneath and bring it closer. Sometimes it requires a bit of the strength. Another thing is you always have to make sure that each cam it's released, so it's fully released. So actually you got the most of the length of the chains before you start tightening up. If you end up with a situation that cams are turned, then obviously you are fighting against something that you can help yourself and then just lose the chains. So again, we are trying to make sure we got enough room and a swag so we can pull. We don't have enough yet. So again, try to swag and pull. Once we get to the point, there you go, we got this closed. So we are 3/4 way already. We got the securely attached the chain around the wheel. But the next step is the key for success. To succeed, you have to make sure that each cam it's turned counterclockwise. So that actually make a tension in the chain. So every single one we are turning counterclockwise, make a tension. As you can see, it's still not enough. The reason for that is because we were chaining up on a wheel that wasn't moved. So we just make this closed. We got the halfway done, but what are we gonna do with situation that we are finding that chains are kind of too loose? There is one more tools or like helpful tips, which I'm gonna show you next. So I end up with having today the very fancy part of that, which is called the bungee cord spider. This is not necessarily what you have to have. You can use regular bungee cord. However, having that, it's a lot easier. So what we do, we are just attaching to the links and pulling up, cross, stretching out. As you can see, the chains are already pulled and then they start making tension. So it's self-explanatory. You just have to work around and to make sure the chain is secured and properly tensioned. As you can see, we work around with a plate that was and a chain, and then we eliminate everything. So right now I would consider the chain is properly set. However, another very important thing is like once you start rolling, I would recommend to stop in very short distance, even in a snow chain area, and then make sure that everything sits properly and it doesn't become loose. The loose can create a huge problem. Snow chains are easily damaging tires, so remember that. Securely, properly attach the chains to the tire with a tension eliminates the risk of damaging tires. So as we can see, we are almost ready to roll. There is one more thing that you have to remember of. So there is a requirement that states where you're supposed to put the chains on. This is first drive axle. You only put on an outside wheel. If you are talking about a second drive axle, if that's a situation you have a tandem, you always have to put in the outside and inside wheels. And that brings us to the small problem. You cannot use anymore a Bungee Spider putting chains on internal wheels. However, there is a simple supplementation for that. You can always use regular bungee cord, and you just have to work your way. So 3-4 pieces, just common sense when you are putting on, so it's not gonna be catching any elements of the suspension. It will be freely spinning. So remember that. Second drive axle, 2 snow chains. First drive axle, only outside wheels. And as far as the trailer, it only requires on a 1 axle each outside wheel. So we are talking about a first axle in a trailer. You are putting outside wheels on the right hand side, outside wheels on the left hand side. That's all what you have to know. And as you can see, it wasn't that difficult at all. Thanks for watching. And if you really enjoy our video, just give us thumbs up. We really appreciate it, and help us to create another video.